We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Tuesday, April 1st here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and great to have you with us on News Generation. Joining us this Tuesday is Kwon Ji-yeon.
Lovely to see you this morning.
Lovely to see you this morning. And Kam Myung-ju.
Thanks for having me today.
Happy Tuesday. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. So we're going to begin our show with our keyword news. Our keyword for this Tuesday is press conference. Korean actor Kim Soo-hyun held a press conference yesterday that's drawing major attention, not just for what he said, but what it could mean moving forward. Now, this comes after weeks of controversy sparked by a video from the YouTube channel Hover Lab, which claimed, citing alleged statements from the late actress Kim Se-hyun's family members, that Kim Soo-hyun had dated her while she was still a minor. Kim firmly denied the claim once again, saying the two were in a relationship for about a year after Kim Se-hyun had become a legal adult. He also addressed another serious allegation that he was somehow responsible for Kim Se-hyun's death. According to Hover Lab, the actor's family-run management company had pressured Kim Se-hyun to repay a debt of 700 million Korean won, roughly 520,000 US dollars, that the company had initially covered as compensation for damages related to her having an accident while driving under the influence. Kim's family has said that the sudden delivery of a formal certified document from the court demanding repayment pushed her to an emotional breaking point. Kim Soo-hyun also claimed that these narratives were fabricated, even releasing KakaoTalk messages and phone call recordings during the press conference to support his side of the story. So this press conference itself sparked even more questions than answers after it took place on Monday. The story is once again still unfolding, and the public reaction, as you can see, is tense. So I want to ask your panelists, what's your take on Monday's press conference?
Yeah, Kim Soo-hyun's press conference yesterday was deeply emotional, with Kim Soo-hyun sobbing from start to the end. Accompanied by his lawyer, it seemed he was determined to rectify some misunderstandings that has been hovering around the public these days. And he didn't really have a genuine opportunity to talk about his own position, so I think he used this opportunity to do so. And having heard of his own side of the story, I think it's time for us to remain patient. While we cannot predict when and how will this incident be come to a resolution, I believe that the truth will eventually come to light.
Right. We should definitely remain patient for the truth because the two sides are telling very different stories, and once again, we don't know what is the truth yet. I also want to ask you, what's your take on the press conference after?
Well, I couldn't agree more what Moon-ju just shared with us right now. Well, yesterday's press conference was very serious and emotional. In moments like this, we should stay calm and wait for the facts to come out. We must also take time to listen to the voice of the late celebrities, families' opinion as well. And also spreading rumors can hurt everybody involved in this case.
Right.
So, and you know, no one deserved to be treated like it, to be threatened or pressured online or offline as well. Let's be respectful, kind and patient with one another. Everyone deserves, you know, space to speak and be heard with respect as well.
Definitely. Now, meanwhile, Kim Soo-hyun's lawyer announced yesterday that they filed a civil lawsuit with the Seoul Central District Court seeking damages totaling 12 billion Korean won, which is nearly $9 million, against Kim Se-hyun's relatives and the operator of the Hover Lab YouTube channel. So we'll see how that unfolds as well. And that was our keyword news for this Tuesday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Tuesdays are when we take a closer look at Korea's cultural scene. And today, specifically, we're going to focus on the entertainment industry. Take a look at the screen to find out more. At first glance, life in the spotlight may look dazzling. Glamorous red carpets, adoring fans, and global fame. But behind the curtain, some celebrities may be carrying emotional burdens that remain hidden from public view. Today on NewsGen, we'll be shining a light on the mental health struggles some stars face and why that spotlight can sometimes feel more like a pressure cooker than a privilege. So we chose this topic today because sadly, we've been hearing some heartbreaking news from the entertainment industry in Korea this year, which we briefly mentioned earlier in our keyword news. So Jiyeon, could you please walk us through the recent developments?
Okay, of course. Well, there have been a number of heartbreaking, tragic stories from the entertainment industry. Recently, in December last year, actor Lee Sung-hyun took his own life, a very sad loss. And in February this year, actress Kim Soo-hyun took her own life. And in March, news of singer Hui-sung's death followed. Though the cause has not yet been confirmed, South Korea continues to have the highest suicide rate among OECD countries, which is a deeply worrying statistics. It's incredibly sad that for some, suicide is increasingly seen not as a tragedy, but almost as an acceptable way out, as a solution. This highlights a growing need for open conversations around mental health and better support systems for those who are struggling right now.
Right. So as Jiyeon mentioned, actors Lee Sung-hyun and Kim Soo-hyun, they took their own lives. But the cause of singer Hui-sung's death, once again, hasn't been officially confirmed. Police say there were no signs of foul play, but that doesn't equate to suicide. So we'll bring you the latest once there are confirmations. But many speculate it may have been suicide, similar to the tragic case of actress Kim Soo-hyun and also actor Lee Sung-hyun. Now, over the years, South Korea has seen several public figures take their own lives, which is an issue that's gained international attention as a long-standing and deeply rooted concern in the Korea's entertainment industry. So what's driving these individuals who seem to have everything to such devastating decisions is what we're going to talk about today. First of all, we asked the same question to our viewers through a poll on our Arirang.news YouTube channel. And there were 4 options. 1, cyber wreckers, which are YouTube channels that spread harmful rumors. 2nd, unrealistically high moral expectations placed on celebrities. 3rd, invasion of privacy and harsh, unfiltered criticism from the public. If we look at the results, 45% chose high moral expectations, followed by intense public criticism, cyber wreckers, spreading false rumors, and invasion of privacy. And we're also going to take a look at 3 comments. Our first comment for today is Share THIN. It's difficult to pick one as those options usually go hand in hand with each other. I really want to know more about how the public and media can be stopped from using digital platforms to destroy another's reputation and image. 4Anna says basically holding celebrities to an unreal standard of perfection and then a massive wave of public criticism when they fail. TrollUp229 to end the variable 9 says invasion of privacy and intense public criticism, high moral expectations are kind of unique to East Asia. So we're going to now break down the results of our polls and the 4 options as well. Of course, the death of a certain celebrity is deeply personal, and we can't assume just one factor is to blame for the death. But once again, we're going to take the time to unpack the 4 potential factors mentioned in our poll just before and explore how they might impact someone under constant public scrutiny. So Jiyeon, why don't you start us off?
Well, of course, being in a spotlight is not an absolutely easy job. As you can see, celebrities face constant pressure to be perfect, all while under intense public scrutiny sometimes. And behind the scenes, many feel worn out and vulnerable to online abuse. On platforms like YouTube, as you mentioned, so-called cyber wreckers dig into people's past and turn pain into profit. They make some profit-making contents in their channel, all without any real accountability. As we have seen in the survey, 40% of viewers saw this kind of online behavior as a key factor driving them to the suicide. And I have experienced this myself. At one point, false rumors about me were spreading rapidly online, even though it was not true. And even a senior staff at Arirang TV asked me if they were true, but it wasn't. And I received a flood of malicious comments, personal attacks, and even threatening DMs, including insults about my family. A well-known YouTuber later clarified that it wasn't me, and the situation eventually died down. That was my thought, but even now, some people still believe it was true, and others never really let go of that rumor in their life. Well, but for that 1 week or 2, it was kind of a real nightmare for me. It was a very sad, isolating, exhausting, and deeply painful as well. I wouldn't wish that kind of pressure on anyone in the future. It may seem harmless to someone, but for those who are targeted, the damage can be devastating. Tragic, and maybe it's time we thought more about the people behind the scenes and behind the headlines.
I mean, listening to your experience just it feels really painful.
That was painful
and
indeed.
I think that once news spread, whether it's true or not, there will be people who will continue to believe that that's true.
That's right.
Which is bringing more pain to the people who are under the public spotlight.
Still making rumors.
What about you, Moonju?
Yeah, sometimes the public holds celebrities to excessively high ethical standards, so showering them with criticism and even some hatred. So while some celebrities have indeed made mistakes that deserves public's reprimands, but even though they have been punished or like they have been charged with their what they have been made by the law, there are still many people who are targeting them with the malicious comments or like hatreds. One expert even described this kind of relentless blame as a form of psychological life imprisonment. So although comment sections on entertainment news in South Korea are restricted since October 2019, led by Daum, one of the two major online news platforms in South Korea, then followed by Naver on the March of the following year. Still on the online like digital
social media, YouTube.
digital spaces, YouTube, they have remained unchecked, right? So at the same time, the more attention celebrities get, the harsher the criticism and the backlash they receive. So these days, direct attacks on celebrities through social media have increased, naturally amplifying the psychological distress. So these days, these kind of direct attacks on celebrities through social media have like too much increasing moments. And of course, as public figures, celebrities do carry a social responsibility to a certain degree. I can say slightly higher, but still they have to, like, public has to give some like free spaces for them.
Because they're human as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody is perfect.
Yeah. And lastly, it is also true that we should deeply think about whether they believe that they must endure any and all judgments simply because they are famous is fundamentally right.
And I think that I really agree to your point because I feel that some people, they want celebrities to be flawless, but once again, nobody is perfect. And once they do something wrong or once they receive public backlash or criticism, it kind of follows as a label as they carry on their lives.
Yeah.
And another a problem that's been really chronic and been painful for these celebrities is the lack of privacy in their lives, right, Jian?
That's right. Well, for media, it's their job to report about celebrities, news. But for a long time, there's been this unspoken belief that if someone is in the public eye, they should simply accept a loss of their privacy. That their personal life is part of the price they pay for fame. That's according to some opinions, some people's opinions, but that's not true. Being a public figure should never mean giving up their rights, their privacy to be treated. They should be treated with basic respect and dignity.
Right, because you don't have the obligation to expose everything in your personal life, right? I see. So what we're seeing is that it's not always those closest to celebrities who hurt them. It's often anonymous strangers online who leave malicious comments or cyber record channels. So I also want to ask you, Bunju, is there a growing movement in Korea calling for a change, especially in the online culture, because we've seen a lot of celebrities in immense pain because of this malicious online culture?
Yeah, fortunately, there is awarenesses around the harm of malicious comments, and consumption of gossip-driven content is growing. Over 50,000 people have consented to a petition to Blue House calling for restrictions on cyber records. Also, additionally, many are urging media to adopt more responsible reporting practices when it comes to celebrities' private lives. And the shift highlights a collective call for accountability in digital spaces.
So fortunately, there are growing calls to protect figures who are under the public eye. So to explore what kind of legal protection currently exists or is still needed here in the country, we'll soon be joined by a lawyer after a short break. Stay with us.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang.News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
So joining us today is Kim Soo-hyun, an attorney in Korea. Welcome back to the show, Soo.
Thanks for having me again.
Thank you for joining us. So, Jisoo, we first want to start off with this question. We've seen how cyber record channels and hate comments can severely affect the mental health of public figures, for example, celebrities. So, what kinds of legal tools does Korea currently have in place to address this, and do you think they're being enforced effectively?
So South Korea does have several laws in place. For example, under the Information and Communication Network Act, which is also called 정보통신망법, someone who spreads false or damaging information online can face up to 7 years in prison or fines of up to 50 million won. And if threats involve blackmails, the Criminal Act applies, and any money earned from those criminals can be confiscated. So on paper, the laws are quite tight. However, while the laws exist, they're not always working in practice. Online attacks cause damage instantly, but our current laws aren't quick enough to respond. And even when offenders are caught, the punishment often doesn't match the harm they've done. So offenders can just drag out the process and just hope for settle with small fines and end up getting lightened sentences. So take the YouTuber Koo Jae-hyuk case, for example. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison in 2025 for blackmailing other creators. However, that only came after years of damages. So yes, the law exists, but the reality is, unless we raise the level of enforcement and truly go beyond these crimes, the system won't be enough to stop them.
I see. Well, Jisoo, looking beyond Korea, are there any countries with stronger laws or systems when it comes to curbing online abuse and spreading rumors?
So when we look abroad, there are some clear examples of stronger systems. For example, in the EU, there is this act called the Digital Service Act, which holds platforms like YouTube and Facebook directly accountable. They undergo annual audits, and if they don't comply, they face fines up to 6% of their whole global turnover, which is quite a lot. And China is also regulating content very aggressively these days. In 2023, they introduced laws banning online violence aimed at generating traffic, including rumors and personal attacks. So platforms that don't act can be heavily penalized, and repeat offenders can get even permanent bans on the platform itself. So these countries focus more on holding platforms accountable, while in Korea, the government plays a more direct and subtle role.
Yeah, so our last question for you today is, in your opinion, what new measures could better protect celebrities and others who are frequently in the public eye?
So I think one of the biggest steps forward is shifting more responsibility to the platforms themselves. Right now, most of the process is government-led, which is very slow, and the burden falls down to the victims to themselves. So platforms like YouTube or TikTok are where this content spreads the fastest, so they should be the ones responding the fastest and removing harmful contents quickly and being held accountable if they don't. But I also want to emphasize the fact that the legal action isn't enough, because many celebrities don't take action because the whole process is just too overwhelming. So we need to support them better with a faster reporting tools or even legal aid to guide them through it. So I would like to end that it's not just about stronger laws. It's about creating a system that has a faster and easier to use, and especially for those in the public eye.
Definitely. All right, Kim Ji-soo, an attorney in Korea, thank you so much for your insights today.
Thank you.
So ending off, as people working in the media world ourselves, we can somehow imagine some of the pressure that comes with being a spotlight, which we discussed today. So to help prevent future tragedies, what do you believe needs to be changed, whether it's concerning the industry, the media, or a society as a whole?
Well, I would like to introduce an expert who talks about the cause of suicides. Well, this is socialist Emil Durkheim. He argued that suicide is often driven by social forces, not just personal struggles. Suicide is driven by social elements, not by personal choice or their personal problems. And as societies become more advanced, social bonds weaken, raising the risk of suicide. That's according to the socialist. And given that South Korea continues to have the highest suicide rate among OECD nations, as I mentioned before, it may well be time for some collective reaction this time for our society. In the media world, we must take responsibility for the emotional health of public figures. The public figures could include some celebrities, and malicious comments and cyberbullying cannot be normalized. And we need stronger digital protection, as Moon-ju mentioned earlier, and real accountability, and also a cultural empathy. And I would like to emphasize on the education for younger students now as well. Before you type, ask yourself, would I say this to your family, to your friends,
to our loved ones?
That's right. If not, maybe don't say it at all.
So education for a better online culture.
Correct.
And I think that Jisoo also mentioned some great solutions, which is one, shifting more responsibility to the platforms as well.
Yes, I do agree. Yeah.
And what's your take on this, Moon-ju?
Yeah, I completely agree with shifting the responsibility. But also, malicious comments are not just simple criticisms. And in fact, I believe they show clear differences from having constructive negative feedbacks. So those comments can pose a serious threat to someone's life, and it's crucial that we remember this fact. Malicious comments often cross the line and become overly hostile and agitated, and which is one of the key reasons we've sadly witnessed some tragedies these days and in the past where celebrities have taken their own lives. Moreover, venting negative emotions doesn't only harm the overall health of the society, but it also devastates the emotional well-being of the one typing those kind of malicious comments. So I believe for their own sake, such behavior should be put to the end.
So all for a more mature online culture as well as more protection measures. And that's all we have for today, but we will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks to Kwon-ju-yeon.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And Kang Moon-ju.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to our viewers, thank you for staying with us, and please join us tomorrow as well. We are News Generation.